Hey, what's going on, everybody? So today what I'm basically going to do is replace the power steering cooler. These are pretty prone to failure. Luckily mine hasn't failed yet, but I just don't want to take a chance of it failing and replace it then. So basically this little metal pipe here is the power steering cooler, what they say. So it kind of, you'll see the lines right underneath it here, a route to the power steering. So what happens is this internally, it's kind of like a little dual wall cooling, and it fails, and then what happens is it pushes the power steering into the cooling system, and then it gets kind of all milky on both sides there. But luckily my cooling, everything is good, but I just want to do it now to be on the safe side. So what I am going to be replacing it with is this Hayden cooler here. There's a part number, I believe, for that. Should be extra plenty for cooling. And here is the upper radiator hose I'll be replacing it with. So it's basically identical to this one. Goes to the water pump. It's a route the same way. Goes here to the radiator. So I got this at the parts store. They'll be able to verify if you have a power steering cooler or not. Just of course say without power steering cooler. So it'll give you the full hose without that metal tube. So stay tuned. I'll be doing a little step-by-step on replacing it and see how it goes. All right, about 20 minutes into it and pretty much about halfway there. So I just took off the air intake lid. That's pretty simple, you know, a couple sensors. Taking the lid off, set that aside, and 2 clamps for the radiator hose. You got that one there, and you got the one over here on the water pump. Pretty direct swap, and unclamp the 2 power steering hoses. I got them capped off with some bolts in there, so those are kind of dangling in there once I route the Hayden cooler. So that's going to the power steering pump there. Here is the old one, you guys can see. So yeah, that's where the power steering lines route into, and this is the cooler that always craps out and just makes it for a nightmare. But yeah, it's pretty easy to swap out. These are pretty handy tools to kind of clip on for the radiator. Kind of squeeze it as I was taking off. I did have 2, so I was able to minimize the mess. So that's pretty much all the mess I got. Got a few more in the pan. I was aiming for that. And I do recommend one of these 2 for the clamps. Very helpful to kind of reach in some tight areas. So if you got one of those, that's very helpful. So, all right, I'm going to get underneath it and kind of check out where I'm going to route the cooler. Stay tuned. All right, so now was the placement of the cooler. I had to find out for a good place to go. I did end up taking out the little shroud up on top there where the air filter is, so I can get down in there. So I gotta snip those off a little bit, but those are the little radiator tie straps that goes in, but I'll show you underneath the placement where I have it. So I decided to put it right here, kind of right in front of the condenser. I think it's a good spot. Had little rubber isolators in between, so it gives a little spacing for some airflow to go through. Fix those fins a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty secure right there. Nice little gap in between the cooler and the condenser, so you get a little airflow. You know, with these cars, you kind of get the ram air from this air dam here and going up there, so it should give it a nice little free flow. I'm gonna connect the lines and have them, I'm thinking about cutting somewhere just right in between here, and I'll put you know, some looms in between just so it doesn't, the lines don't get cut up or anything. But nice kind of cuts in here to go through, and I'll put some little isolation here, a little padding, just so again the lines don't rub, no chafing or anything like that. And it'll kind of go through right to the back and into those lines right there, and I'll just kind of tuck them up a bit and go from there. Okay, final wrap up. I did finish everything. You can see the coolant hose, they're buttoned up. Just a straight rubber hose. Goes across now to the radiator there. And you can see the old cooler, which is that right there. So that is gone, no longer in use. I'll show you what I did here. This is what I ended up doing. So I got the cooler here. I got the lines routed through here. Just drill a little hole. Still got to get some loom. I'm gonna put it just kind of around the surroundings so it doesn't kind of scratch it up a little bit there. And underneath, I just got this this hose that was off the power steering cooler. So I just took it off of that, wrapped it around here because when I got a double-ended barb fitting to fit the factory hose to the aftermarket cooling hose. So I just did that on both sides here. Use a double barb, connect them, hose clamp. So I just got this cooling hose, just wrapped it up just so it doesn't kind of scratch and bang around. Just a little more protective there. So that's good to go. I fired it up, topped off the fluid, tested for leaks. No leaks anywhere. So now just time to test drive it and see how it goes. But that's it. I think it should be much better cooling. You got more fluid capacity also, so that should help keep it cool. Lines are out of the way, no leaks for the coolant. Topped it off. I use this for the Lucas power steering fluid, so that should help out. Pretty simple mod. I'll say all in all about an hour's work, but it should be much better. Peace of mind knowing that the aftermarket one will not blow and mix with the cooling. So alrighty, thank you.